Welcome to the Whole Parent Podcast, Mama Nous. You are one of our absolute favorites in our house. We actually were driving back in the car yesterday, having a little bit of a hard time. Like nobody wanted. It's like witching hours. It was 5:45 p.m. Everybody's losing it, and I plugged my phone into the aux cable or whatever, the Apple CarPlay, and I turned on Mama Nous, and all of my kids were singing in unison your songs. Although some of them, they only know the first verse because they know them a lot from the book that you made. Right. But anyway, welcome to the Whole Parent Podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to chat.
Yeah. So for those who don't know who you are, who are not up and with it, what is it that you do?
So I make family-friendly music with emotionally intelligent lyrics that help kids and adults build confidence, courage, and resilience. And when I first started sharing music, I thought I was a children's musician, but a really interesting piece of what I do is the way that sharing these messages with kids also then become available to the adults around too. And that's one of the most fun things I think about the music that I make is the way that it really brings families together and creates shared language for how to navigate those kinds of hard moments, and can also really shift the mood. Like, music is such a helpful tool for not getting caught up in those moments and transitioning out of them in a fun and playful way.
It's so crazy because a lot of what we talk about in the podcast is like neuroscience and just kind of basic psychology. But one of the craziest neuroscience facts, and I don't talk about this a lot on my podcast, but when I go on other podcasts, this is one of the things that I love to pull out. You know, you have those things that you pull out as oh, you're going to love this. One of them is the power of music to actually change not only mood in the moment, but to change how people think, because music has this way of interacting simultaneously with our prefrontal cortex and the way that we logically think about the world, but also our emotions and our limbic system. And so it's so amazing that you are making this music that has these lyrics that are so kind of affirming, and they speak to real adult truths. I mean, in a kid-friendly way, but they speak to these adult truths, and I find myself reflecting on I'm proud of myself, that I'm and I'm really, really cool because I did that thing that I didn't want to do.
Yes.
And I hear myself saying that when I do those things because you've brainwashed me.
In a good way, I hope.
Absolutely. But that is the power of music. So I want to kind of take you on a little bit of a journey, give people a little bit of window behind. But is there a lyric that you can think of right now, a lyric that you've written, maybe everybody else absolutely loves it, but your kids totally ignore it?
Ooh, it's not that they ignore it. They love trolling me. So one of my favorite songs lately has been Change is Inevitable, because to me, a really important piece of helping to raise resilient kids is reminding them that everything ebbs and flows. So you're going to be happy sometimes, but life is always going to change and there are always going to be hard moments. And so it's a song that's about capturing the fact that everything is impermanent. So, we got to just be flexible and strong and brave. So the chorus is change is inevitable. And every time they look at me in the eye and they're like, change is a vegetable. I'm like, okay, thanks. Keep me humble, kids.
I love that. They viciously troll you. Are there any other examples like that? Or is that the one that's really resonating right now?
That's the one. I gotta say, my kids love my music, which is so validating and so affirming, but they sing these songs all the time. And they know pretty much all the lyrics. So yeah, they don't really change it up on me.
You know what? Kids just have that ability to just go with us. We've experienced this. So it's funny, I didn't plan to have you on the podcast for this reason, but my wife and I, and by the time this comes out, it'll have been out for a while, but it came out this week when we're recording this, wrote this children's book, Set My Feelings Free, which is set to the tune of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And it goes through all these emotional regulation exercises. And what's been really affirming to us is that our kids want to read the book.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that that's so taken for granted that lots of people can celebrate your work, but it's different when your own kids celebrate your work. Like it's different when your own kids embody. And my wife has some other books that are kind of in the pipeline that her and I have talked about, and she like makes little mock-ups of them and like literally on printer paper she'll like make a little mock-up of a book that she has. But whenever my kids pick up one of those books and it's just like, I want to read this one, and not like the highly polished whatever Hungry Hungry Caterpillar, not to knock on Eric Carle, like it's incredible, but when they want to read your book, like and so I imagine that's the same thing with you. When they want to sing your song, that feels really validating.
100%. I also have twins who have distinctly different personalities, and one of them went through a pretty long phase when he was a toddler where he hated it when I sang, and when I would start singing he would just be like, stop mama, stop, and it was like very much just a power struggle control thing. So I did my best to not sing at him, not annoy him, but also say sometimes I sing so that I don't yell at you, because I was starting to get really frustrated and I would rather sing a song than lose my temper. So I'm using this as a tool for myself. But watching him now come around and like pick up my book and play the songs to him, I'm like, okay, I navigated that moment in a way where it's all turned out well.
So like, what does that look like? Because you said, like, I've heard you say this in the past in other places, like you sing to keep yourself from kind of losing it. What is like the most unhinged song that you've come up with in like a desperate parenting moment, or like any song? Like, how does this stuff come out of you? How do you decide what to write?
Well, a lot of my songs just like pour out of my mouth. So I am just like a wordsmith. I just love words. I love word scramble games. Like words are just my medium, and my whole career has been in communications. And so like, I don't know, I'm just able to like sing words that rhyme very easily. And I started to recognize pretty early on that for me, I didn't want to be a parent who yells, right? We know that yelling is not helpful, not supportive, and just not useful, right? It just doesn't work. And I'm interested in tools that do work. But what I noticed is like when I reached a certain level of frustration, it almost feels like this itch inside me. Like there's just this energy that I have to express in some kind of way. And I found that I could just do kind of like a Tarzan yell, like, oh, and then find words that would just like move them through whatever it is in the moment. So when they were like a year to 2 years, the number one song I sang was, oh, outside, outside, 1, 2, 3, outside, outside, come with me. And it's like, it's not fancy. It doesn't even necessarily rhyme, but it grabs their attention. It got me out of that mindset of like, come on, get your shoes on. Let's go. Put me in a more playful mode and kind of like scratch that yelling itch, right? I was able to express that energy and sort of like, clear that hurdle.
I love this. Like literally this is like, it's so funny because like you intuited that. You felt that in yourself. Like, wow, this is what I need in this moment. And this is what my kids need. There's such an interesting neuroscience basis of like why language that is sung, it basically exactly what you said, it scratches a different part of our brain. And it's really cool to hear that it helps you. What's crazy is that kids can hear sung language way better than they can hear non-sung language. So when you say like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, like come outside with me or whatever, I'm forgetting what it is in the moment. But like when you sing that, actually like saying, all right, let's go outside, like actually is going to be far less likely to get through. And so like you felt that, you experienced that, and then you just ran with that. I love that.
Yes. Another great example is a song called Getting Geared Up. And I have no idea where this came from. Again, it just sort of like poured out of me. But what I noticed was I would get frustrated in certain moments. And when you've got twins who are like a year and a half, 2 years old, and you need them to get all their stuff on and go outside, it is a frustrating moment. And so I came up with a song and it just goes, we're getting geared up to go outside, and what do we need to get ready for the ride? We need something on our feet. That something on our feet is called... And so instead of telling them what to do, they feel empowered. They're finding the answer for themselves. They're like, I know. Oh, wait. Okay, that reminds me. I need to go get my shoes. Like, my whole thing in parenting as much as possible is to try to avoid power struggles where I'm like, you need to go do this. And they're like, wait, but I don't want to do that. And instead I just come up here and I'm like, oh, if we want to leave the house, we need something on that we don't have on yet. Can you figure out what it is?
So powerful. It's so
It works really
powerful.
well.
I feel like every single, I mean, I want to talk about your book. Like, I feel like every single one of these songs could be an amazing children's book, like just stand alone. And I experienced that because like so we're now 4 days into launch. And so the book has been technically out in the world for 4 days. And I've had one person on, I don't know, like Goodreads, which I know I'm not supposed to read your own like reviews on Goodreads, but I read all of the reviews, and I've had one person be like, I could have done without the twinkle twinkle. And it's so interesting because that was actually part of the initial process. Was we got a lot of pushback from our publisher of like, we don't know if you should make a songbook, like this songbooks are overdone or whatever. And we were like, no, staunch, adamant, no, it needs to be a song. Like we were really stern on it. Like they were like, this is we are uncompromising. And even at the end, they wouldn't put it on the cover of the book, but they would put it on the back, and they would put it on like the first page that you can sing this. But they were like, we will not put it on the cover. So even up to that point, like we were like still fighting about it. One person on Goodreads, the rest of the comments were like, I can't believe how much my kids like to sing this already. 3 days in, 2 days in.
Because they get it, because it reaches that part where they already know the melody, the structure is already familiar, and that makes memorization so much easier. I do not claim to understand the neuroscience part of things, so I'm really glad you can speak to that. But it really is amazing how much more accessible words become when you attach it to a memorable melody.
Oh, it's literally like there's only thing that we can explain is that like it doesn't make sense in the way in which we understand language and neuroscience. So like it's one of these places where there's a gap in our understanding, from what I can, like at least a gap in my understanding, where it's like, oh, we can explain all of this stuff. The one thing we can't explain is why like basically the limbic system or the neocortex like activate like in rapid succession with one another. Usually the limbic system first because it's faster. Or if something is profoundly non-emotional, then just the neocortex but not the limbic system. Like this is how it works. Music is the only thing that we have that activates them simultaneously. Like we don't know why it happens, but like there's some part of our brain that like music fits like a lock into a key, or a key into a lock, where it like unlocks and literally draws a bridge when we talk about like recentering a brain or like getting kids back online or like helping them integrate their emotions. Music draws a bridge that like nothing else does. So I have to ask, like, if your kids use your philosophy against you though, because this is something that happens to me all the time. My kids are like, okay, we know what your philosophy on parenting is. So when you don't live up to it, like, do your kids ever do that where you sing a song and you're like telling them a thing, but then if you don't live into it, they're like, but mom, you can do hard things. But mom.
They definitely call me out on hypocrisy. Like they are very, very attuned to like, wait a minute, mom, you always tell us to use kind words, but that was not very kind. And then one thing that I'm really big on with my kids is letting them into my own process with challenging emotions. So like I experienced disappointment, I experienced rejection, and I try not to shield that from them because I think it's really helpful. Like I don't make them responsible for my emotions, but I let them know like I'm going through kind of a tough time and I'm doing these things to take care of myself. And I can't say they use it against me. They're actually just like really sweet and empathetic, but like sometimes they'll sing the disappointment song to me, like sometimes we don't get the things we want. And it's like so affirming actually to hear it coming from them of like, oh yeah, okay, you're right, I can move on from this.
Yeah, I think a lot of parents would, even just the framing of the way that I asked the question, right? Like a lot of parents would see that as, I think could see that, I should say. Like, could see that as like, this isn't what I need from you right now. But actually, like, you've done the work where you're like, no, actually, this is what I need. And Mark Brackett, who's been on the podcast, who's the director for the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, he was one of the first people who was on the podcast who talked about exactly what you're saying, which is like, I actually go to those places with my kids. I think a lot of parents are afraid of that. They're afraid of like letting their kids in. Like, how did you decide, or did you decide, or just like did that always feel right?
Well, okay, let me zoom out because I think a big part of this is that a lot of adults still feel discomfort around their own challenging emotions. Like, I think a lot of adults were raised with the mentality that you're only good when you're happy and like you need to have a smile on your face and anything else is not acceptable. And so I think that, like, with that underlying framework, if that's really what you believe, that your own challenging emotions are not okay, then of course it's going to feel like dangerous or unacceptable to share those with your kids. That is not my mentality at all. I am very accepting of my entire emotional landscape. I see my emotions as information and I try to be growth oriented and be curious about them. So to me, like, I'm not scared of my own negative emotions. I don't see them as a bad thing. One thing that really helped me early on was the concept of good enough parenting. Because I think especially like in this moment where so many of us are getting parenting advice from like content creators online, where it's like very sort of blanket and not tailored to our situations, it can feel so overwhelming to like weed through that and figure out what's right for you, what's right for your kids, what applies to your situation. And early on, I'm a pandemic parent, so my kids were born at the height of COVID quarantine. And I remember that feeling of watching videos and just being like, I don't know what I'm supposed to care about. And I feel like I cannot do all of this. Like,
Right.
I just feel set up to fail, right?
Yes.
And so this concept of, I think it's 80-20 parenting, where it's like, if you get it right 20% of the time, the other 80% is going to kind of work itself out. So long as that 20% is like really attuned, really responsive. And I was like, 20%? I mean, I think I can realistically do more like 60%.
Right.
But then also there's a piece of, I want my kids to be equipped for the real world, right? I hate it when people comment that on my videos, but I think it is really important that my kids understand that life isn't always easy, it doesn't always work out, and they're going to experience challenging emotions, challenging situations, and it is easier to face something when you've seen somebody else do it already. When you've seen your mom handle her own disappointment and like, yeah, it didn't feel good, but like I was able to breathe through it and take care of myself. Like, my mistakes actually give me the opportunity to give my kids the gift of seeing what it looks like to be resilient in practice. And that's really powerful.
I feel like you could just be the co-host on this podcast. Everything
We have so much we could chat about. I was looking at your website and I was just like, this could be a long conversation.
Yeah, everything that you just said. I mean, like, it was like you were ticking off chapters in my book, Punishment Free Parenting. Like, literally, like, I have a chapter on modeling and why, like, our job is to model the things that we want our kids to do. I have a chapter on emotional superpowers. You actually, in many ways, when I first heard is it Grumpy Bunny?
Oh yeah.
Well, the first time I heard Grumpy Bunny, I was like, oh man, I like would have cited this in my book. Like, because that song, and I would love if you, I hate to call you out on it, but I would love if you could sing like a little bit of that song. Because I think when we hear in parenting, in adult circles, like, I'm only good if I'm happy, like, that is basically, there is no emotions that you're like, and this is why a lot of men, I think especially, process all emotions as either happy or rage. Because
Yes.
rage is the one that you can't control. So disappointment, frustration, sadness, grief, loss, those all get dumped in the bad bucket. And the way that we do bad emotions over here on the XY side is to, you know, just like rage about them, right?
Right.
Immediately. So like that song really has stuck with me. And can you share that with the audience?
Yeah. I'm a grumpy bunny and that's okay. I'm feeling super duper grumpy today. I still love my friends and my family, but that doesn't mean I gotta be happy. And that was one of those songs that I was really surprised took off in the way it did, because to me it just felt so obvious. Like, I was like, I don't even know if this song needs to exist, because, like, I don't know, of course it's fine to be grumpy and acknowledge that. But the number of adults I have heard from who are like, why am I bawling at a children's, like, you told me that this is a song for kids, but like, it just healed something in me and I just made it my alarm sound in the morning. It really like boggled my mind. And I guess it's made me realize like how many of us didn't get any kind of like real emotional education as kids. Like, there was no like discussion of what it feels like to feel your emotions and how they're supposed to feel. And we carry that into adulthood, and a lot of us don't realize that we're carrying it. But a really cool thing is it's a skill that you can start to develop at any time, and there's tons of resources for kids that you can actually like watch or consume alongside them that can help you grow into the parent that you want to be while they're also developing these skills alongside you. I just think it's the coolest thing.
It's fantastic. Okay, I want to take a quick break, and then I want to be back and talk a little bit more about your work. I want to take a quick pause to interrupt myself and tell you about the best resource, the number one way that you can be parenting better, and it is what I call the Parent Lab. It's an online community that I run, and it is basically the place where you can get everything, one-stop shop related to whole parent. It is for those moments in your life where you're doing everything to stay calm and you feel like parenting is so overwhelming and your kid is screaming and you just feel like, man, I am getting triggered more and more every single day by these kids or this individual kid. And I just don't know what to do. Like, the social media advice seems good in the moment. The podcast episodes seem good in the moment. The parenting books seem good, but this keeps happening. Why does none of this stuff work in real life? That is exactly why I created the Parent Lab. It's basically the place that you can go whenever parenting gets hard, no matter what you're going through, because you probably don't need more judgment and you don't need more people trying to like tell you all the things you're doing wrong. What you need is a plan. You need the actual words that you can say in the actual moments, and support from somebody who understands the child development side, that's me, and who also understands what it is like to parent real kids in real life. So what is inside the Parent Lab? Well, you get instant access to our full course library, which includes courses on siblings, like multiple courses on siblings, including the brand new 21-day sibling challenge, which is the most excited that I've been about a course in a very long time, as well as courses on kind of more common things: bedtime battles, potty training, tantrums, strong-willed kids, highly sensitive kids. I have workshops and courses on all of these things, how to stop yelling at your kids. I even have one on how to get your partner on board, which is great not only if you're struggling to get your partner on board, but also if you're struggling to get maybe an in-law or somebody else in your child-giving circle, in your village, on board. And you also get live coaching calls with me. And I don't mean like some giant webinar where you're going to get lost in the chat and they say, oh, I'm going to be there, but actually you're never going to get your question answered. We're talking like small group, small knit community where you can bring your actual situation, no matter what you're going through with your kid, what your struggle is in that moment, and we will work through it together live. You also get DM access to me, so I can answer your questions on those coaching calls, even if you can't be there in person, or I can just respond in DMs. And honestly, my favorite part is connecting with parents. So this is not a bunch of theory. It's not fluff. It is literally like, say this when your kid refuses to leave the park. Do this when your siblings start to hit each other. Do this during bedtime. Do this when you have a struggle with potty training. And parents are constantly telling me, I tried this stuff the same day and it completely changed the interaction. You can get in right now and check out the entire Parent Lab. It is open for enrollment. Come in, watch a few videos, bring your hardest parenting challenge to me and see if it helps. And if not, you can cancel at any time, no judgment. Because parenting is hard enough. You shouldn't have to figure it out on your own. So head over to Parent Lab, to the link below, and let's get started transforming your parenting. We are back with the one and only Mama Nous. She, oh my gosh, I cannot speak to how you've already changed my household with your book, and that's what I wanted to get to next. You have a songbook out. I don't know, I got mine, I think, on the TikTok shop. You're holding it up for those who are maybe not watching. It's called I Can Do It. And that's one of your songs in the book, but it's full of your songs. Not only where can we find that, but like, what inspired you to package what you're doing in that way?
So the book is published by Callie's Books, which is a publisher of interactive sound books for kids, which are really cool because they're rechargeable and I hate button batteries. So I had been an admirer of their work for a long time, and they reached out to me. And a lot of people have asked me for a children's book, but I am DIYing my whole music career, so I have no desire to DIY self-publishing too. Like that just was not a bridge that I was going to cross on my own. So when they reached out, I was like, yes, absolutely, let's talk. I have a bazillion ideas because there's so many different directions we could go. I have standalone songs that could be a single book, or I'm very good at writing to a theme. So like, let's have a conversation. And their team is fabulous. And we batted around a bunch of different ideas. And I honestly don't remember exactly how we got onto the topic of anxiety, but we started to talk about songs that would help kids build confidence and courage in the face of adversity and anxiety. And I was like, oh, I have 2 songs already for that. So the first song and the last song, I kind of see as like bookends, where the first one is I Can Do It. And it's all just about like, I wrote it as a hype song for my kids when they were like 2, and it was originally in the second person. I was like, you can do this, blah, blah, blah. But with the book, I really wanted to package everything in the first person because I want these songs to be resourcing kids' innate confidence. I want these songs to become part of their inner narrative rather than coming from someone else. So that was a great way to start the book. And then you mentioned I'm Proud of Myself, which is one of my favorite little jingles because honestly, it has been really healing for me to learn how to feel proud of myself. And then they were like, yes, let's definitely go with this angle. Can you write a couple more songs? And I was like, yeah, I'll figure it out. Give me like a month and I'll get back to you. 3 days later, I sent them an email and I was like, hi, actually, I just wrote 4 new songs and I think they're all perfect. And like, here's the whole thing. And they were like, okay, great, cool, let's do this. So it was just one of those things that like aligned perfectly. They were the perfect company to partner with. They really believed in me and let me do what I do best, which is really inhabit my own childhood self and think about how I felt as a kid when I was experiencing anxiety in the face of new things and really capture the messages that I needed to hear to help build that innate confidence.
I could just speak to, like, as an owner, as a connoisseur of the book. I didn't buy the book knowing that you were going to be on the podcast. But after my kids had the book for a period of time, it became clear that I got to get her on. Because it would, my kids sing I Can Do It and Proud of Myself. And I'm sure that like the other songs, I have them memorized too. But those 2, they sing all the time. And Proud of Myself is one that we've really kind of attached to as a family because so much of life is doing stuff that like you don't always want to do. And that's, a big criticism of the positive parenting movement. I think it's an unwarranted warranted criticism, but is this idea that like we never make kids do hard things, right? We're just going to be permissive and they're just going to do whatever they want and eat Cocoa Puffs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And like, that's it. And if you know the parents who are practicing this and who have read my book and who are actually trying to raise kids, like that's not true, but we need language for that. And I'm proud of myself and I'm really, really cool because I did that thing that I didn't want to do. Like that has become kind of a mantra around cleanup time. Not that we don't still sing the clean up, everybody do your share. I don't know how that was burned into my shared consciousness of the entire millennial generation. But like literally there's other songs, but that one is the one that we kind of go back to over and over. And I just was talking, part of the reason why we turned it on with my 9-year-old yesterday, and that's a 9-year-old, right? Like this is an older kid, is because we were talking about how he didn't have extra socks for forest school. And I was like, yeah, my bad. I didn't pack you extra socks, but also you too can pack extra socks. And he was like, I don't like this at all. I don't like this one bit. Get out of here. What next you're going to tell me that I could have packed my own lunch. And I was like, you can pack your own lunch, And he's like, no, I hate this so much. And I was like, but like, you will be so proud of yourself when you do those things. And so like, it doesn't have to be like, just because you don't want to do it doesn't mean that it is unrewarding. In fact, many of the most rewarding things are the things that we don't want to do, that like we look back on and go, that was really important.
Yeah.
And so your songs have been changing our lives. Is there any skill that I'm thinking about, like or maybe it's an emotional framing, something that you're still trying to unlearn from your own childhood. You talk a lot about parents unlearning things from their childhood. What's that thing for you, if you're willing to go there with us?
Totally. Yeah. One of the biggest things for me is shifting my own inner narrative. So, in many ways, like my mom was very emotionally attuned and responsive, but I also had a lot of caretakers who were very critical in my formative years. And my inner voice is really mean to me. And over probably the past 8 years, I have learned that, that voice inside my head isn't necessarily me. It's not necessarily a reflection of who I am. Spoiler alert, I have a song called Bully Brain on my album Ocean of Emotions, which is about this concept, which is like, that voice isn't true, and I can listen to my heart instead of my head. But it feels weird to talk about the fact that my own music has actually been incredibly helpful on my own healing journey. And I'm proud of myself was kind of the catalyst for it, because for many years, that critical voice meant I never felt proud of myself, because I suffer from what I call shifting goalpost syndrome. And I will set a lofty goal for myself, and I'll be like, this is going to be so hard. I'm going to invest all my time into it. And when it's done, I'm going to feel amazing. And then I get there and I'm like, oh, well, I was able to do it, so it couldn't have been that hard. So let me just move on to my next goal and whatever. And like, spoiler alert, that's not really great for my self-esteem or my mental health. And so I'm Proud of Myself is one of those songs that like literally just like came to me, and I sang to myself in the mirror. And then I was like, I kind of think I need to sing this to myself in the mirror when I do kind of anything. And it was a little bit silly at first, but like I started to sing it like when I did anything I didn't want to do, and let myself like actually feel what it feels like to be proud. And that sort of set the stage for a really big mental shift that's happened over the past like year with my own inner narrative, where, it still pops up, that critical voice, but I can be like, oh wait, that's not true. I'm not taking that. I'm not going to listen to you.
I've never heard somebody describe my experience in such clear terms. Like, I feel like this is exactly, I'm shifting the focus from a place that I thought I was going to go to a place that I need to go. But man, I've totally, and as a content creator, now as an author, that's so easy to do. To be like, I will feel fulfilled when I have X number of followers, or when I have X number of, when my book comes out, or when my book is a bestseller, or when I sell this number of copies, or whatever. And then you do it and you go, oh, but I just did that, and like, so it couldn't have been like,
exactly.
I didn't even really
it's so
do
dismissive, right? Like, I would never speak to my own children that way, right? I'd be like, that is amazing that you did this thing.
Yeah. But what do you think that, what do you think that comes from? Is that like a thing that, like, I try and reflect on that in myself of like, where did I get that voice from? Or is that just like culture? Is that my parents? Like, where was it for you?
Yeah, I do think that there's a lot of like cultural messaging, and I think specifically, I think that there's like kind of this generational mindset of feeling prideful means that you're not humble, or it means that you think you're better than other people. And if you feel proud of yourself, it means that you're bragging and putting yourself above other people. So I think like that's some of the messaging. But for me, I have a few distinct memories of like showing these more critical caretakers, like something that I'd made that I was really proud of. And they were like, yeah, but you didn't do this. Or like, yeah, but like I was really into sewing, and I didn't really like using patterns. And so I just like kind of came up with something that looked good on the outside, but if you looked on the inside, it was like, oh, all the seams are really messy. And, someone was just like, how did you not even notice those seams? Like, that's not even actually finished. I'm like, oh, okay. And for me, I think that's where it came from, is just this feeling of like, oh, even when I try really hard and I feel like I'm proud and I'm asking for validation, I'm asking to be witnessed in that. And what is given back to me is like, yeah, but you didn't do this. That's really, I think, hard for kids and easily gets internalized.
I feel like I think that there's a couch behind you. I feel like I could just go lay on that couch and we can have a therapy session about this right now. Because this is like exactly, man, that's such a thing. And you kind of had a non-traditional educational experience, right? Like, so you came from, and I know that you don't talk about this that much, but you came from kind of an educational mindset where it was kind of supposed to be more internally motivated, and it was supposed to be more, self-driven. But then also you had these, and I'm not saying it's every caretaker, but you had this kind of thing that many of us experience. And I think that's where mine comes from too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very grateful for my non-traditional schooling experience. So I was homeschooled in various forms for my whole childhood. My mom definitely had an unschooling mentality of where she wanted learning to be fun, and she wanted us to like explore our own curiosity and kind of be in charge of our own learning. And I'm so grateful to have that foundation, because so much of the way that I see the world and the way that I think is influenced by the fact that I had so much freedom and really do just like love to learn, and I love to play. And that's, I think, something that's very much rooted in my unschooling experience. I often hesitate to get into this conversation because I have mixed feelings about the way that I was unschooled, because honestly, I was the kind of kid who needed a lot more structure, a lot more limits, and a lot more accountability. And so I always get a little itchy about some of those gentle parenting conversations, which I know are not fair because they're not reflective of how it's supposed to be, but of like, I don't tell my kid no, or like my kid decides their own bedtime, and I'm like, good, please don't do that. They need you. Like, their job is to push against the limits, but your job is to hold those limits, and they really need that. So, not saying that I like needed the structure of like a classroom environment, but there are ways in which like kids don't always know the best way to direct their own learning, and can really benefit from adults in their lives who see who they are, see what they're passionate about, and help guide them toward that. So that's like a shift in my own parenting with my own kids, where we're bringing in more structure and more limits.
Well, and I think like two things can be true, right? Like the pendulum can swing both ways of like, okay, there's like this shame-based, which often then like hierarchical authority, shame-based authority that often manifests in like very high, school kind of mirrors that, right? In many ways, like traditional school mirrors that. Then there's this kind of like the swing to unschooling where it's just like, yeah, it's just kind of like free learning and like whatever. I think, I wonder sometimes, and not to say that every musician has come from an unschooling background, but when I think about your lyrics, when I found out that that was part of your story, I was like, but I wonder, right? Even if there were non-ideal parts of it, I wonder if there's part of it too where it's like, but you felt encouraged to like go out and take this risk and put yourself out there.
Yeah, 100%. One thing my mom always said in my childhood, which never made sense then, but absolutely makes sense now, is her top priority was protecting our spark. Like, as children, she wanted to honor our spark and protect that. And for her, I think public schooling and the way that it is very authoritarian and hierarchical would risk that. And so I definitely had this core mentality that I mattered, that I was valuable, and that I was deeply loved. And also, there is a level of confidence you have to have in your kids, I think, to unschool well, right? There is the cohort that is just like emotional or educational neglect and like go do your own thing. But like if you are a conscious unschooler, you're confident in your kids because like you know that they're going to end up okay, and they will.
Right.
And I think that mentality like really shines through in terms of like how I see the world, is even if I've wrestled with my own low self-esteem and my own like critical inner narrative, I am very confident in the fact that like I'm a person who matters in the world. And that's so beautiful foundation.
That's so beautiful. And I think that like that, I think about this too, because I talk about this a lot. And I think about like how the educational neglect situations exist. My thing is now I'm, and this is like a topic for another day. I find that most of the educational, like most learning happens at home, whether we send our kids to school or not. Right. And so educational neglect, I find, is like actually more with parents who send their kids to school.
Because they think, oh, you're off and it's done, right? My work is done.
My work is done here, and like I don't know what's happening over there, and I don't know what you're learning, and I don't know what social emotional tools you are or are not getting. Right. But I'm going to trust somebody who's doing it. Right? Yep. So when you come home, like, and not to say that this has not been I have done this exact thing, but here's your mac and cheese and like, here's the remote, you
Right.
know, and that's like, and there are times like we had the flu, you know, here's your mac and cheese and here's the remote is that is survival parenting. Like there are
Right.
times, but when that becomes the norm, I think then we restrict kids from expressing these really interesting, unique things that they are wanting to do. And when they dig into those things, they might wind up being Mama Nous.
Yeah, people are often surprised to learn that our kindergartners are in public school. And honestly, it was a decision that we really wrestled with. And like before I had kids, I mean, I thought I was going to have like a gaggle of children and I would unschool all of them in my linen dresses and baking sourdough bread. Turns out I hate baking with kids, first and foremost. There are a lot of things about that fantasy. I hate it. It's the worst.
Wait. We have 100% rate of people who hate cooking with their kids.
That's because it's the
On the
worst.
podcast. Why does everybody think that this is going to be good? It's never good.
It's never good. Nobody
always so
enjoys
hard.
it. It's so hard. It's
I
just, I
swear.
don't know.
Yo, it's propaganda. The people
really
who,
is, yeah.
The people who cook with their kids on the internet, it's propaganda.
Yeah,
That was not what they had for dinner.
100%.
They did it for the content.
Oh, I feel so validated right now.
100%. I literally, our last episode, the person was like, you know, maybe this makes me a bad mom, but I hate cooking with my kids. I was like, it does not make you a bad, like all of us. Welcome to the club.
It's the worst, objectively.
Mama Nous, aka Michelle, where can we find I Can Do It and all of your other resources so that we can learn as much about ourselves as we are going to be teaching our children about their feelings?
Yeah. So my book, I Can Do It, 6 Songs for Brave Kids, is available through Callie's Books, my publisher. They have a website and they also sell on Amazon and TikTok Shop. I am on all of the social media platforms where I share songs, but also parenting reflections and I guess lots of reflections on my own journey in motherhood because I'm a whole person and it's not just about my kids. And then I have 5 albums that are streaming everywhere and an album of emotionally intelligent lullabies that is only available on my website, mamanous.com.
And that's MAMANOUS. Mama
That's it.
Nous. Awesome. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. This was such a fun chat.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of the Whole Parent Podcast. I hope it was worth the time that you gave it today. I hope you learned something or were challenged, or maybe it just made you smile. If it did, there's a couple of things that you can do that would really, really help me out. The first one is to go right now and subscribe to my channel at Whole Parent on YouTube. YouTube is getting full, unabridged versions of every podcast episode ad-free right now. I am really trying to get people over there because I have so much awesome YouTube content planned and I have such a small following over there. So if you want to get the best of Whole Parent, hop over to the YouTube. There's awesome stuff there. It's going to absolutely change your life. The second thing that you can do is actually go to the link in the description. You can find YouTube there as well, but find the link for the Parent Lab. It's my exclusive community where I do group coaching. I have a whole course library there full of amazing educational resources for parents. It is a subscription model where you gain access for a low monthly fee. Go ahead, check out the Parent Lab. There's so many amazing things in the Parent Lab, and if you want to grow in your parenting, it's the best way to do that. The third thing that you can do, and it probably costs you the most because it costs you vulnerability, is to share this episode or this podcast in general with people in your life. There are parents in your life who are struggling. There are parents in your life who could use this in their life, and we know that the number one way that we can get more people to listen and watch and follow along with the podcast is by personal referral. People want to know what you're listening to. They want to know what's helping you to parent more effectively. And so if you can do that, find somebody in your life who needs this podcast and send it to them. I would be so appreciative. Thank you again so much for your time. You can find links to everything that we talked about in the episode, including my books, Punishment Free Parenting and Set My Feelings Free, down below. And I'll see you next time.